us. Okay, so applause the witch. Mental asylum. I think, Ray, what do you reckon? I think it was a witch.
Yeah, I reckon witch. Except for the witch.
Nice. Girls and friends beyond the binary, let us go back to a beautiful time. This is a chapter called Rosaline Norton. There is something pretty scary about a young woman who is completely weird but kind of adores that about herself. Like Lamb Chop, the sock puppet, that crazy bitch. Okay. At the height of conservative Australia, this role was filled by Rosaline Norton. And that's her beautiful photo there. Yeah. And just like Lamb Chop, she wasn't afraid to get flack for her choices and become an outcast, all because she wore her pin curls a little differently than the other girls. I mean, come on, how many boys? Oh, and I guess she also refused to identify as a human, worship the pagan god Pan, and went by the name of Forlorn. If you're getting the hunch that Rosaline wasn't your classic innocent wifey material, you'd be dead right. Rosaline Thorn Norton was an artist, journalist, philosopher, and most crucially, a true blue dinky-dyed witch, a dark magic lady whose reputed powers were so feared, not only does she hold the very Sheilas title of being the most attacked witch of the 20th century, she is also the only person in Australia whose work has been destroyed, burned, more specifically, by high order of the Crown. This made Rosaline the most persecuted artist in Australia and the first woman to stand before the courts on obscenity charges. Rosaline was born at 4 a.m. in 1917 during a thunderstorm, and things just kept getting spookier from there. For instance, as a baby witch, she preferred to sleep in a tent outside her family home in Sydney, and her first pet was a spider named Horatius. In her own words, I may be many things, but I am certainly not human. And that's a little slice of Rosaline. Yeah, and that was Rosaline Norton. So now, is still there? Good. Okay. I'm going to go through some questions that I asked my followers on Instagram to ask a question if they can't be here tonight, or they are here tonight, or they're on Zoom. And so I'm going to do the most pleasurable thing a woman can do, interview her goddamn self. Oh my gosh. Wait, was that you me to ask the questions? I was like, don't be ridiculous. Now I'm like, this is ridiculous. Okay. Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? Yeah. You read the question. Okay, you ask the first one, pass it along. Okay. Yeah, whatever. Just pass it. Okay. Yeah. And ask it like you mean it.
Jeez, okay. Why would they sound like an interval? So, if these Sheilas are so little known, how did you learn that? What was the process of studying this lady when there's so little in the history books?
That is a fantastic question. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for asking that. You've thought about this a lot. So that is the conundrum, isn't it? If there aren't any women in our history books to talk about, where do you find them to drench them up? I mean, there was a lot of just reading newspapers from the 1860s to the 1880s, and this is where I don't know who they are, I don't know where they are, but the archivists and the data wranglers and the researchers and the digitizers that have actually digitally imprinted all of our documents and put them online. Like it wasn't that moment in the film where you see the writer go into the state library. It wasn't that. It's all on Trove. It's all in your national archives. And a part of that was because it was in lockdown in COVID when I wrote it, so my access to going to these places was limited. But also the spirit of writing Sheilas. Like, I've got no business writing their stories, but I wanted to invite everyone to have their own Sheila. So it felt really cool to be able to say, hand on my heart, you can all learn about this in the same way that I did. It's all accessible to everyone. There's no sort of classism or paywall behind the information that I found. And it was so fun being that moment, that high that you get when you find that tiny little tidbit that you've been looking for weeks and weeks, that actually sort of proves that Sheila was at that place at that time. I totally get it now. Why people do this, like archivists do this for no thanks and probably too little pay. Like, it was so fun. And also just like the ABC, their retrospect series of like archiving and uploading, and I don't know, I really do. If you are a person who does that for a job, like, I genuinely want to buy you a beer. I would never be able to do this without you. And I don't even have a university degree. Like, also Rosalie, who I just wrote, read to you, I found out about her by asking a therapist. I was like, hey, you're an older gentleman. It's not Chesterfield around here. I bet you know about some badass women of Australian history, and you just said, oh, you must have found the witch. That's one witch, and I've never heard of her at all, and so I rushed home. And yeah, so I paid lots for that. It was totally worth it. So I was just asking anyone, do you know Sheila? Yeah, I know a lot of people do. Yes, yeah, I asked anyone's mom for Sheila. I was like, tell me about Sheila. There's so many to learn and know about. You just have to ask correctly. Next question. Good job.
Which Sheila from the book is your favourite?
Oh, thank you. I don't have a favourite. They all represent something really specific. Me and Kate, who's that woman there, and I try and embarrass her as much as possible because I have a hunch that when you go into publishing, you don't expect to be pointed out. So Kate always spoke about, she's my editor and publisher, and she always spoke about that, like, not one Sheila is the perfect Sheila, but all of them together have this sort of Captain Planet, like, wind, fire, or they're all, like we spoke about, an ingredient in a spell. Like, you have to have a little of something. So I don't have a favourite, but the one that made me actually super sad and anxious and made me cry about it was Laws Bonnie, who was a very wealthy woman, who was the first woman who flew unaided by any navigational tools from Brisbane to London. I'm just thinking of, that was the one where I felt like, oh my God, I might be the only person in the world who gives a shit. And it's my job to, like, write down, and because I think that everyone will give a shit, but it was that pressure of, like, when I saw her suit, her aviation suit that her husband had made her to make the flight over, and it was the first one of its kind for women aviation leather gear, because her plane didn't have a top. Yeah. I was like, what the hell? Yeah, and that made me be like, she didn't do it for anything or anyone. She did not do that to be known in 2022, but that felt the pressure of like she was my girlfriend, being like, oh, I've really got to tell a story. Right. But so she's not my favorite, but she was the one that made me the most like important. I felt the importance. Oh yeah. Okay. Good. 40 and 10.
Because she was too.
Yes. Yes. I know there's a Sheilas 2 and a Sheilas 3, and I have enough. Because on my search for all of these Sheilas, they just come out of the woodwork. Like there's dozens of girls, and they all have their folder, and I purposefully didn't share that folder with my publishers because they're gonna have to get into the Sheilas 2 talks. But there's many, many, many Sheilas to come. Yeah.
Can I start with a question from Hannah, who asked something similar, saying, were there any Sheilas that didn't make it into the book that you discovered on your research? I'm assuming this is something that you probably are going to hold.
Yeah, the only one that I think I say in the book is when I'm speaking about Mary Ann Bugg, who's a bushranger. And then I also give a tidbit that there's another bushranger called Jessie Hickman, who I cannot wait to write about. She murdered her husband, ran away to the circus. Like, just think, like 1890s Melbourne circus. Like, what are you talking about? And then she, look, I can't tell you much. Well, I want to, I really do. But like, it'll have to be in print form. She has an amazing story where she. No, I can't. But yes, that's true. Yes. Next question. Fantastic. That is such a good question. Probably Rosalie. Like she was, that's by deduction because most of these women I'm terrified of. I would never want to hang out with Nancy Wake, who could judo chop a Nazi to death. She did. But I don't want to hang out with her, like at all. But Rosalie is someone who, in the 1940s, conservative Australia, she identified as a bisexual and she uses that word. Which is just amazing. Like a lot of people who come out as bi today have trouble being acknowledged. And I was like, and there's this great interview online right now where a journalist is like, is it easy being a witch? And she says, I think it would be harder not to be. And then she pulls out a little wooden box and she opens it and she goes like, oh, look what I made today. These are bat feet earrings. Aren't they amazing? They're sitting like a cafe across and she puts them up. And I mean, like, I went to a coven the other day with amazing female artists where we all wrote stuff down and burnt it and like drank around crystals. And I just really was like, oh, Rosalie, we have such a good time. Like, this is definitely your time. And every time I hear someone say like that's so witchy, I'm like, Rosalie, you totally was such an original girl, and I wish I could hang out with you. Yeah. Yeah. Next question.
Wow. Can you tell us about a time being inspired?
Yeah, every day. I mean, but mostly it comes from like business stuff or things that I feel like I have to set a personal boundary, or the moments where I'm sitting outside the virtual office being like, I'm going to have to ask for a pay rise, like, or I'm going to have to set a personal boundary with a friend, or I'm going to have to tell Kmart, no, I do need that refund, which was just the other day. I know it's $10, but and I never would have done those things. I would have just been like, don't worry about the pay rise, I love the job, or don't worry about it, that friend was just having a rough night, or don't worry, it was only $10. Like, it makes me feel like knowing these women and having a North Star to be like, well, if Rosaline could do that, I can probably just ask for this. Or if Nancy Wake killed a lot of people in World War II, there's a difference depending on what side of the war you're on. You're a murderer or you're a fighter. But yeah, so it just makes me be like, I can ask for more, I can make people uncomfortable just for something that it's the these micro moments that I think really inspire me, not the big things yet. But yeah. Good question. Such a good question. Where are we? Where's the piece of paper? I mean, where are these questions? Oh my goodness. Such a saucy question. But that, well, really, Kate was like, you're going to cry. Hello, you're going to cry by writing this book. And I was like, probably, we'll see. And she's like, you think you're not going to cry, but you are going to cry. Because that's one of the reasons I book. And I didn't cry. And I would say that, like, Kate, I haven't cried yet. I cried about everything else around the book. But the book was an absolute joy to write. It was amazing, and these women were so fun to share. It was easy. They made it so easy. And the lifestyle of writing a book is so good. And if you see any TV or films with like guys men being like, oh, I thought I'd write a book. Like, that's why. Like, this life is so good. You get to just like write and then go for a bushwalk and then hang out. The least favorite part was, oh my gosh, probably, I don't know, dude, like, it's really, the least favorite, no, oh yeah, proofing, which is, proofing, where it's something where it's like, as the proofs get more and more, you have like 48 hours to read the book, 24 hours to read the book, and I was like, is this the last time I'm going to read the book? And then they say yes, and then they're like, what? 4 hours to read the entire book. And so that was really hard, because proofing, your whole idea is to be meticulous, but you're blind to it because you've read it so many times. So that was such a challenge for a brain. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh, wow. Sheroes. Okay, so the whole idea about the Sheilas is that they do it for themselves and they work outside the system. So the wins look differently than when we know, like Julia Gillard, amazing woman, but she won within the system. Like Kathy Freeman, amazing woman, she won within the system. And I wanted to just be like, well, there are other wins that look really different. And you don't know me to say this, or I don't know me to say this, but there was this woman who James helped at work. James works for an anonymous telephone company. Essentially, James works with like really exacerbated cases, and this one woman, she's a homeless woman, and she had stolen a man's phone, and the man had called in to be like, a woman stole my phone, and she's been using it and run up a bill. And then James was like, okay, and throughout the day, James got this woman and was like, you know what, I'm going to give you that phone, and I'm going to give you like a phone bill for the rest of your life. And she was actually so tenacious and so cool in the way that she negotiated with James. Like, this is so private and inappropriate. But I really liked the question, and I just remember being like, fuck yeah, that's a Sheila. Like, good on you. Like, you're doing whatever you need to do for yourself. You're being selfish. You're being self-serving. And I think for women, that's a really dirty word. And I really just want to be like, go for it. And she had the most amazing story and was really generous and beautiful. And I thought that was just such a really good day. And working from home, I get glimpses of these amazing people in the days. But also, you know, I have to say my mum, because if she's on the Zoom, I don't say that. My mum, she's amazing. But also, it's those little micro moment women that are like, I did something I was so scared to do, but I thought it was the right thing to do, and I did it. That's, yeah. Sorry, James, if you get fired. That's so inappropriate. Okay. Oh, yes, and also the wonderful team at Pan. Okay. No, like, yeah, I mean, they get very, yeah. Oh my God, okay, great, okay. Is there anyone from Zoom, because I have obligations to my followers as well?
No, I do have a question on you. Yeah. I was curious, in the book, you've got all these little, like, you've got a thing.
Yes.
You've got the
Yes.
preschool. What made you, was this always a plan? Did you kind of feel as you were writing, this is great to include in the book?
Well, if you have had a chance to read the book, there are like a lot of source material from throughout the time. Oh my God bless you, Candy. Yes, Candy. Yeah, so for instance, say I do have Reddit thread in there, but that was because genuinely I wanted to know whether it was a dumb idea to swim from Balmain to Cockatoo Island. And it was a dumb idea according to Reddit. I didn't use their real names, but yeah, I definitely went to Reddit. Because like a part of, I love being able to sort of break through what historical nonfiction means in its tone, and the stuffy, mahogany-laden libraries is one beautiful color in the crayon book, and Reddit is the most amazing community ever. So I'm going to ask them, or maybe you'll know, the hive mind knows. But also just putting in primary sources, because I just felt, I guess, insecure that if I didn't put the primary sources in, no one would believe me, because it is funny and I do tell the stories in my voice, and I wanted to be really clear about like when I was making a joke and when the newspaper article I'm referencing is a joke. And so like you'll see those sort of gorgeous inlaid in there. I just really wanted to be clear about like, this is all real and this is me. I don't have any business telling these stories in terms of like, I guess I do now, but like, but just wanted to be clear about like, when does my voice and my opinion start and when does the history begin? And I guess sometimes it makes me a little frustrated to read historical nonfiction that they actually put words in women's mouths. And like they actually say like, and then she said this. And I'm like, but she didn't. And like, how is a reader supposed to know that? Like how are they supposed to know that? Or they dress her in clothes that like sure might be historically accurate, but being like, I just wanted to sort of be like, I don't need anything more. Like the one historical tidbit is worthy of them to be in a book. Like I don't need to put words in their mouths or thoughts in their heads for their story to be valuable or worthwhile. But then my favorite one that was a very late edition, like really late, like Kate was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I have to. This Faith Bandler, who is the woman who's almost single-handedly changed the Constitution to include First Nations, or at the time I said Aboriginal people, but I found her ASIO file. Like, I found it in there, and that's like actually it. And I read it, and I was like, oh my God, it was because they stalked her and went to Berlin, and when she went to Berlin, and she was one of the first people that they actually used film to film their subjects. Like, hey girl, I'm your best friend, why don't you just go do your speech about, racism in Australia, and I'll film it for you. And it's all like archived, those idiots. And now this month I can read it, so that was so cool to include. I don't want an ASIO file. Oh, my mic's coming out. Done. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, okay. Well, you know what? It's get like put up any questions from the audience, because we're getting to that time of the night. Yes, anonymous woman. Yes.
I'm a huge fan of I love to know what the term of that is.
Oh, prosciutto party. Thinly sliced meat. I don't know. What's your fruit party, papaya party, or like when you cut them open, or like a mango party, a mandarin party. Hopefully we worked so hard that we will upset enough men that they're like, oh, this is a bloody papaya party. I love that. Oh, what else is there? Yeah, I think like the fruit of the orange, the half-cut oranges, and oh my God! I guess the sausage party is derogative. Yeah, so maybe clam, or like maybe that's why I was like sliced prosciutto. Yeah, but it has to be like, I don't want them to be mean to us because they're so like, this is so annoying, taking up space. Yeah, probably that, or like stadium parties, stadiums when you look up from above. That's so yummy. Stadiums are like the only architecture ever. So it'd be like, just play stadium party, stadium. Well, I doubt that. No Zoom questions? Fantastic. Okay, hold on. I've got some. Please also just grab. This is you guys are IRL. You're my people. Okay. Okay. Merle Thornton is Sigrid Thornton's mum. I met her in Brisbane. Wow. Correct. No question. Correct. Merle Thornton is a Sheila. She chained herself to her local pub in Brisbane because at the time it was illegal for women to drink in the same pubs as men. For shame. And she's Sigrid Thornton, who was like in Sea Change. She's an actor. She's grown up to, and they've done a show together, and she's amazing. Did you choose the cover? I did choose the cover, but in a way that I didn't choose the cover. So essentially, like, this is the most beautiful book. I never would have thought that the book would be as beautiful as it is, and it's kind of sort of out of your hands as a writer. It's almost like, if you're a writer, you're not the director of the film, you're the writer of the film, and there's an amazing team, including Kate, who I would always say, like, you're the director of the film, because I come from TV and film, that it's like this vision. The fact that it was hardback, I was like, it's hardback. I didn't know that. That was such a beautiful surprise. But Kate just came up with this brilliant idea of like having carnivorous Australian birds that no one knows about. And these are, it's sort of that moment of like, look once, see a bird, look twice, realize it's eating another bird. And this was taken from a real scientific fauna, what's it called, like an edition from the 1800s in Australia.
and they're all throughout the book, and we use them, and every bird we thought could be really cool to represent a Sheila. And I was like, I want to be a magpie. And I'm up the back as a magpie, because that's like not only the best carnivorous bird, but my favorite. And so they kind of represent, like, yes, we're pretty, yes, we have feathers, but we also eat stuff. And you might not know about us. Like, I can't, it looks like a kingfisher, but like a lot of people are like, what bird is that? I was like, that's a Sheila. And that's exactly what they sort of represent. They're the people that go undercover, but were always there the whole time, doing whatever they wanted. And that was the question. Yes, yeah. So I didn't choose the cover, but we also chose the color of orange, which was like, I wanted this, like, something that was so, oh bless you, so good. Like something that was so strong, but also so it could go, it was, I guess, ungendered in its like bias of like that strong. I was like, Inku, there's this cool girl store in the city that has like orange bags of the Inku orange and the green. How long did it take to write your book? Yeah, great question. So obviously the web series was really good to get that first leg done, but I wrote the first draft in 3 months, which was like such a big proud achievement for me. I went to acting school on purpose, so you didn't have to read or write. I didn't do, like, I've never written in full sentences, because on script writing, the whole idea is you reduce your sentences. But the support that I got was amazing. And so I think I started writing it in October 2020. And so it's been super fast. And this has been such a big, important part of the last 18 months that it feels like yesterday that the information was there. Okay. Bang. Good job.
Library, like, was it glamorous? Did you like doing something?
So when I started to write it, I was like, okay, I can't do this. I need to buy a curved monitor. That's when I'll do it. And I brought Kate over, and I was like, Kate, look at my curved monitor. She's like, okay, how's the draft? Yeah, so I was like, wait, and like sat down and was like, I can't write yet. I need a wireless keyboard. Anyway, got all that. But I also paid my friend, really important, I paid my friend $30 a week. I was like, can I just write at your house? He lives in Stanmore, I lived in Enmore, and I just walk every day. And actually, it was a Shonda Rhimes. Shonda Rhimes wrote Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder. She's a, Bridgerton. She's a big showrunner, screenwriter, and she has this rule that she can only write like 4 hours a day. She does 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. And then after that day, she's not allowed to think about the book. She is not, or like her writing, but she's not allowed to write at all. She's not allowed to dream or think. And it just becomes this romance with the space that you are in to write, of like, oh, I can't jot that down on my phone. I have to remember that for tomorrow. And it becomes this thing of like, you're looking forward to tomorrow. You're looking forward to getting that tidbit down because it's so reduced. So I only wrote 3 hours a day, and that was my thing of like, you have to walk away even if you want to, because like over a long period of time, you have to make it so bite-sized chunky that it's easy, that you forget, and you never burn out, you never have a tantrum, you're just making it so easy for yourself. And I think that's how I did it. Yeah, that was the process. But I just went on bushwalks after that. It was so good. So romantic, like so good. Writing books are awesome. Yeah, but not even being allowed to think about it. Like being like, no, you have to think about her tomorrow, even though I wanted to sort of daydream about them. Yeah. Yes, Candace. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all junior Sheilas in this room, right? Like, but the best thing about, I guess, Sheilas is like a lot of the women in the 1800s that I sort of found, like, it might take 200 years for your work to be recognized. Like, you might not know within your lifetime what you've done for your betterment of your gender or humankind. Like, none of them are social justice warriors. Like, you know, they were just doing it to better their own lives and also the lives of the people around them. But like, future Sheilas or like mini Sheilas is like, if you piss the most important person in your life off, you piss them off, then you're kind of in the range of getting Sheila's nominations. Like, yeah, look at the person who influences you the most and be like, I'm going to do something, I have to do this, and this is going to really piss you off, but I really feel like I need to do it. Like, do that, and then maybe in 200 years someone else will write about you. Like, because a lot of these girls have no idea what they have done in the domino effect, and like, it's not about the likes or the retweets or the like the recognition or the Australian of the year. Like, it's about those little scary moments that you have to do. Oh my God, I can't wait to meet the future Sheilas, whoever they are. Like, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Okay, we only have a short amount of time. Yes. I mean, I feel like I gotta say Grace Tame because she's amazing. I'm very like scared and worried for her and proud of her, but then I'm also like, oh, that you're playing within a system to your own benefit. And then I hear about this woman. She's in New York City, and she has just been convicted for stealing over $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, and she is like 29 years old, and she has a rap pseudonym. She's a terrible rapper, but she's just done what Al Capone never could. She's just done what who's that other? Yeah, Bernie Madoff could never dream of. Like $4 billion in her New York City apartment, and you don't see headlines about her. Like, that is like a future Sheila to me, to be like, no one's looking at you. And I think that's because you're not the heroine, but who are you? Like, what gave you the gumption? Like, I'm scared of you, I'm confused by you, but like, what, you've done something that no other man could, or no one else ever has, and that happened like last week or something. Yeah. I guess criminals. Like, oh my God, I'm like, what? I'm really crying. I think I have, but yeah, I mean, it's just about being like, what would a good girl do and what would a not girl? Like, this person has probably lost friends. Her mother probably can't even look at her. She's so disappointed. Like, that's the kind of woman that I'm like, you pissed off everyone, and that's such a hard thing for me to do in my own personal life. I'm such a good girl. So having these women to just spur me on to like ask for my food back because it was cold. Like, that's my big fuck off moment. Like, so this is awesome. Yeah. Like, yes. Yeah, I'm totally writing this also as like a weird gift to the 14-year-old girl who was told in like history class that like valiant men died for us in World War II, and there was some nurses, but we didn't really talk about them. And then learning years later that Nancy Wake, the most wanted woman of World War II, she had a 6 million franc bounty on her head. That's not including inflation either. The Gestapo hated her so much. She was born and grew up like blocks away from my history classroom, like blocks away. She grew up in Cremorne, where I went to school, and just hearing about that, being like,
I would have really loved to have known that because I wanted to go to the house parties at the end of the week and be able to be like, get off me, Nancy, wait, I didn't have that. And now I just like, that was, Nancy Wake was the one that made me, it hit really close to home because taking extension English and loving my history teacher so much and getting really into it and never hearing about the woman who would like jump out of planes and like have the most amazing life, who went to North Sydney Girls, like who was like a stone's throw away, and that sort of like, why didn't I know about her and where are they? There must be more if that was just right in front of me. And she actually is the most well-known one. Like she's had movies about her and I still didn't know about her. Yeah, so definitely, oh my God, I'm already a menace, but like imagine girls would be like if they knew. And I really like, of course this book is for everyone, but it really feels like blokes in their 50s and girls who are really young are the ones that like message me and are like, holy moly, this changed my life. Like those are the two, like they want to fight. Dude, that's my core demo. Now on ABC, that's my core, like they are my people. And then no one wakes up and goes like, oh, I can't wait down on Boomer Mail. Like, I love it because they're like, I want to know about this. I want to talk to my daughters about this. I want to share, but I don't know where to begin because they're so smart and everyone rings around me using a bit of a thick skull. I'll give you some juice that I can go back to the dinner table and talk about. And I feel like that's why they kind of love it so much. And I'm like, good on you, Greg, Paul, Daniel. I love them. It's so beautiful. We're out of there. We're so.
Yeah, I think so. Do you have any last questions? No? Well,
Wait, hold on. Right. So, guys, my boyfriend's in the room. Do you want to hear him ask a question? My boyfriend? Do you have a question?
Humans you think are the best in the pandemic?
Okay, who I think would have done the best in the pandemic is Mary Ann Bugg, who's a Warramia woman who knew the land so well. She'd probably be up in the New England National Forest right now, just having a really good time. She'd be like, see ya, bye. And I feel like a lot of First Nations people always have this vibe about them, about being like, at the end of the world, you guys are so screwed. I think it'll do their own thing. I think she'd do so well and just pick us off one by one. And I think who would do the worst was Nancy Wake, because she was an absolute hedonist. She was an absolute alcoholic. My words, not hers. But she loved to party. She loved to be in the action. She had the total option to not go to World War II. The husband was like, please, can we just go to the Alps and have a holiday? And she's like, I want to get in there so bad. She would be definitely the people that someone on social media that was like, I'm really struggling right now. I really need to hang out and party. And she'd probably be arrested for doing those illegal parties as well. That's a really good question, Jane. Well, with that, thank you. Ask me a question about some wine. Just come on, let's have a good time. And I can ask me a question. Thank you so much. Applause for the Zoom, man. Yes, please enjoy. And if anybody wants to purchase the book, you can just come to me. Thank you so much. Thank you. Like you really know them. The connection is like, I'm going to come to you by any information you need anyway. So thank you. Oh my God. All right, thanks everybody.